I just can't wait to get on stage and show everyone what I can do. You're the one that I want. You are the one I want. Ooh, ooh, honey.
If anyone had told Chidinma that her own cousins would try to destroy her future, she would have laughed and called them crazy. But life has a way of teaching us that the people closest to you can sometimes be your greatest enemies. This is her story. Chidinma lived in Lagos, Nigeria's bustling commercial capital. She was 22 years old, fresh out of university with a degree in mass communication, and she lived with her parents in a modest three-bedroom flat in Surulere. Her father worked as a school teacher, and her mother sold vegetables at Audition market. They weren't rich, but they were comfortable, and most importantly, they were happy. Chidinma was beautiful. Not the kind of beauty that screamed for attention, but the quiet, natural kind that made people turn and look twice. Her skin was smooth and dark like polished mahogany. Her eyes sparkled when she smiled, and her smile could light up the darkest room. She was the kind of girl who wore simple jeans and a t-shirt, but still looked like she stepped out of a magazine. But Chidinma never thought much about her looks. She was more interested in her dreams. Ever since she was a little girl watching Nollywood movies with her grandmother, she had wanted to become an actress. Not just any actress, but one who would make Nigeria proud on the international stage. She had the talent, the passion, and the determination. All she needed was one opportunity, one chance to prove herself. That chance came on a Tuesday morning in March. Chidinma was scrolling through Instagram when she saw the post. It was from Star Productions, one of the biggest film companies in Nigeria. They were looking for a fresh face to star as the lead actress in their new blockbuster movie titled Queen of Destiny. The movie was going to be directed by the legendary Mr. Emeka Okafor, and it would feature top Nollywood stars. But they wanted someone new, someone unknown, someone who could bring authenticity to the role. The audition was scheduled for Saturday, exactly 5 days away, at the Oriental Hotel in Victoria Island. Chidinma's heart nearly jumped out of her chest. This was it. This was the opportunity she had been praying for. She immediately called her best friend, Amarachi, who lived in Lekki. Amarachi, I just saw the most amazing thing. Star Productions is looking for a lead actress, and the audition is this Saturday. Amarachi screamed so loud that Chidinma had to pull the phone away from her ear. Girl, this is your moment. You have to go. You have to shine. I will, Chidinma said, her voice trembling with excitement. I'm going to prepare like my life depends on it. And she did. For the next 4 days, Chidinma barely slept. She practiced her lines, watched YouTube videos on audition tips, rehearsed different emotions in front of the mirror, and even recorded herself to see how she looked on camera. Her mother noticed how hard she was working and encouraged her. My daughter, she said one evening while they were having dinner, God has given you a gift. Don't be afraid to use it. The world is waiting for you. Her father, a quiet man who rarely showed emotion, simply nodded and said, We believe in you. Chidinma felt loved and supported. She felt ready. But what she didn't know was that while she was preparing for her big day, someone else was preparing to destroy it. Living in the same compound as Chidinma's family were her 3 cousins, Ngozi, Blessing, and Mercy. They were the daughters of her father's younger brother, Uncle Chidi, who had died in a car accident 3 years ago. After his death, Chidinma's father had taken them in and treated them like his own children. He paid their school fees, fed them, clothed them, and gave them a roof over their heads. Chidinma treated them like sisters. She shared everything with them, her clothes, her shoes, her makeup, even her dreams. But behind their smiles and sweet words, Ngozi, Blessing, and Mercy harbored a deep, burning jealousy toward Chidinma. They hated the way people always complimented her beauty. They hated the way she carried herself with quiet confidence. They hated the way their uncle and auntie adored her. And most of all, they hated the fact that she had dreams while they had none. On Wednesday evening, Chidinma made the mistake of telling them about the audition. She was so excited that she couldn't keep it to herself. Guess what, girls? She said, beaming with joy. I'm going for an audition on Saturday. Star Productions is looking for a lead actress, and I'm going to try my best. The 3 cousins exchanged quick glances. Ngozi, the oldest and most cunning, forced a smile. Wow, Chidi, that's amazing. Congratulations. Yes, so, Blessing added, clapping her hands. You're going to do so well. Mercy, the quietest of the 3, simply nodded and smiled, but her eyes told a different story. They were cold, calculating. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, the three sisters gathered in their shared room and whispered in the darkness. Can you imagine? Ngozi hissed. Chidinma is going for an audition to become a star while we're here suffering. If she becomes famous, she'll forget us completely. We can't let that happen, Blessing said, her voice sharp. We need to do something. But what can we do? Mercy asked nervously. The audition is in 3 days. Ngozi smiled wickedly. I have a plan. Over the next 2 days, the three sisters acted like angels. They helped Chidinma pick out the perfect outfit for the audition. They gave her tips on how to style her hair. They even offered to go with her to Victoria Island on Saturday to support her. Chidinma was so touched by their kindness that she hugged them tightly and said, "You girls are the best. I don't know what I'd do without you." Her mother, however, was not convinced. On Friday night, she pulled Chidinma aside and said, "My daughter, be careful. Those girls have been too nice lately. I don't trust them." "Mama, you worry too much," Chidinma replied with a laugh. "They're just being supportive. They're my sisters." Her mother sighed. "Just be careful. Not everyone who smiles at you has good intentions." Chidinma brushed off her mother's concerns. She was too excited to think about negativity. Saturday morning came with bright sunshine and clear skies. Chidinma woke up at 5 a.m., took a long shower, and spent an hour getting ready. She wore a simple but elegant navy blue dress that hugged her body perfectly, paired with nude heels and minimal makeup. She looked stunning. Her parents wished her good luck, and her father even gave her transport money. "Go and show them what you're made of," he said proudly. At exactly 7 a.m., Ngozi, Blessing, and Mercy knocked on her door. They were all dressed up and ready to go. "Let's go, Chidi," Ngozi said cheerfully. "We don't want you to be late." They took a bus from Surulere to CMS, then switched to another bus heading to Victoria Island. The journey was long, but Chidinma didn't mind. She was too busy rehearsing her lines in her head. The audition was scheduled for 10 a.m., and they arrived at the Oriental Hotel at exactly 9:15 a.m. When they got to the hotel, Chidinma went straight to the registration desk in the lobby. A young man in his late 20s sat behind the table with a clipboard and a stack of forms. He was part of the production crew, responsible for registering all the participants. His name was Tund, and he had been doing this job for 3 years. "Good morning," Chidinma said politely. "I'm here to register for the audition." Tund looked up, and for a moment, he forgot how to speak. The girl standing before him was breathtaking. Not in the loud, attention-seeking way, but in a quiet, natural way that made him want to keep looking. He cleared his throat and smiled. "Good morning. Your name, please?" "Chidinma Okafor." He wrote her name down carefully, trying not to stare too much. He took her phone number, asked her a few questions about her acting experience, and gave her a participant number. "You're number 73, he said. "The audition starts at 10. Please be ready." "Thank you," Chidinma said, flashing him a warm smile that made his heart skip a beat. As she turned to leave, Tund found himself already looking forward to seeing her perform. He had registered over 100 girls that morning, but none of them had the presence this girl had. There was something special about her. Chidinma walked back to where her cousins were waiting by the entrance. "All set?" Ngozi asked. "Yes," Chidinma replied. "Now we just have to wait." But as they stood there, Ngozi suddenly gasped. "Oh no, I just remembered. My friend Zainab lives very close to here, just down the street. She's sick, and I promised to visit her before going anywhere today. Can we just stop by her place for 5 minutes? It's on the way." Chidinma hesitated. "I don't want to be late." "It's just 5 minutes," Blessing pleaded. "Please now. We'll be back before 10. "Fine," Chidinma agreed reluctantly. "But we have to. Be quick." The three sisters smiled at each other knowingly. As the four of them walked out of the hotel gate, Tund happened to be standing near the entrance, checking something on his phone. He looked up and saw Chidinma leaving with the 3 other girls. He watched them walk down the street, his eyes following Chidinma's graceful figure until they disappeared from view. Something about the way the other girls were walking, close and tight around her, made him feel uneasy. But he brushed it off and went back inside. What Chidinma didn't know was that the Oriental Hotel was the last residential building on that particular street. Beyond it, the area changed completely. First came 3 gigantic warehouses owned by multinational companies. These warehouses stored goods and equipment, and their owners only came around maybe twice or thrice a month to pick up supplies. The warehouses were always locked and deserted during the day. After the warehouses came a stretch of abandoned buildings. Old, half-finished structures that had been left to rot after their owners ran out of money or interest. No one lived there. No one worked there. It was a dead zone. And beyond the abandoned buildings was thick bush, dense, overgrown, and silent. The three sisters led Chidinma deeper and deeper down the street. At first, Chidinma didn't think much of it. But as they passed the warehouses and reached the abandoned buildings, she began to feel uneasy. "This doesn't look like a residential area," she said, looking around nervously. "Where exactly are we going?" "It's just around the corner," Mercy assured her. They walked for another few minutes until they reached a deserted construction site hidden among the abandoned buildings. There were piles of sand, cement bags, and rusted machinery everywhere. Chidinma stopped in her tracks. "Where exactly are we going? This place looks dangerous." Ngozi turned around slowly, and for the first time, Chidinma saw the cold, hateful look in her eyes. "We're not going anywhere," Ngozi said calmly. "You are." Before Chidinma could react, Blessing and Mercy grabbed her arms tightly. She tried to scream, but Ngozi quickly covered her mouth with her hand. "Don't even think about it," Ngozi whispered menacingly. They dragged her toward a deep, open pit that had been dug for the building's foundation. It was at least 10 feet deep, dark, and filled with muddy water at the bottom. Chidinma's eyes widened in terror. She struggled with all her strength, but the three sisters were stronger. "You think you're better than us?" Ngozi spat. "You think you're going to become a star while we suffer? Not today." And with one final push, they shoved Chidinma into the pit. She screamed as she fell, her voice echoing through the empty construction site. Her body hit the muddy bottom with a sickening thud. Pain shot through her legs and back. She looked up and saw her three cousins staring down at her with cold, emotionless faces. "Enjoy your audition," Ngozi said, mockingly. Then they turned and walked away, their laughter fading into the distance. Chidinma lay there in shock, covered in mud, her beautiful dress ruined, her body aching, and her heart shattered. She tried to climb out, but the walls of the pit were too slippery. She screamed for help until her voice became hoarse, but no one came. The construction site was abandoned. There was no one around. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Chidinma realized with horror that she was going to miss her audition. The thing she had worked so hard for, the dream she had been preparing for all her life, was slipping away because of jealousy and betrayal. She sat at the bottom of the pit and cried. She cried for her broken body, for her ruined dress, for her missed opportunity, but most of all, she cried because the people she trusted, the people she called sisters, had betrayed her in the cruelest way possible. Hours passed. The sun began to set, and the air grew cold. Chidinma shivered, her clothes soaked in mud and water. She prayed silently, asking God for a miracle. But as darkness fell, hope began to fade. Meanwhile, back at the Oriental Hotel, the audition had begun. Hundreds of girls had shown up, all hoping to be the next big star. The judges sat behind a long table, watching each performance with critical eyes. Mr. Emeka Okafor, the director, sat in the center, looking bored. None of the girls impressed him. They were all trying too hard, copying what they had seen in other movies instead of bringing something original. Tun stood at the side of the room, checking off names as each girl performed. He kept looking at the door, waiting for number 73. Chidinma Okafor, the girl with the beautiful smile and quiet confidence. But she never came. Around midday, he saw the three girls who had left with her earlier. They had returned and were now sitting among the other participants, waiting for their turn to audition. Tun walked over to them. "Excuse me," he said politely. "The girl you came with this morning, Chidinma Okafor, where is she?" The three sisters exchanged quick glances. "Oh," Ngozi said with a sad expression. "She had an emergency. A family issue. She had to go back home." Tun frowned. "That's strange. She seemed so excited about the audition." Blessing shrugged. "Yeah, but emergencies happen. What can we do?" Tun nodded slowly, but something about their story didn't sit right with him. He went back to his post, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. By 3 p.m., Mr. Okafor was exhausted. "Is this all we have?" he asked his assistant. "Yes, sir. That was the last girl." Mr. Okafor sighed heavily. "Then I'm afraid we don't have a lead actress." None of them had what I was looking for. Tund, who had been listening nearby, stepped forward. "Excuse me, sir," he said respectfully. "There's something you should know." "What is it?" "This morning, a girl registered. Her name was Chidinma Okafor. She was different from everyone else here. She had this presence. But she left with 3 other girls and never came back. I thought it was strange, so I kept her registration form." He handed the form to Mr. Okafor. The name on it read, Chidinma Okafor. Mr. Okafor's eyes widened. "Okafor? That's my family name. Where did she go?" "The 3 girls she left with came back and said she had a family emergency. But I don't believe them, sir. Something felt off." Mr. Okafor's instincts kicked in. "Do we have CCTV footage?" "Yes, sir." "Show me." Now. They went to the security room and reviewed the footage. They saw Chidinma arriving with the 3 girls, registering at the desk, and then leaving the hotel with them. The camera captured them walking down the street toward the warehouses. But when the footage from later in the day was reviewed, it showed only 3 girls returning. Chidinma was nowhere to be seen. Mr. Okafor's blood ran cold. "Something is very wrong," he said. "Get my driver. We're going to find her." He turned to Tund. "You're coming with us. You saw her. You'll recognize her." Tund didn't hesitate. "Yes, sir." They got into Mr. Okafor's car and drove slowly down the street, following the same path the girls had taken. They passed the warehouses, the abandoned buildings, and finally reached the construction site. Mr. Okafor told the driver to stop, and they all got out. Meanwhile, back at the construction site, night had fallen completely. Chidinma was freezing, exhausted, and losing hope. But then, she heard something. The sound of a car engine. Voices. Footlights. "Help!" She screamed with the last bit of strength she had left. "Please, someone help me." The voices grew louder. The lights grew brighter. And then, a face appeared at the edge of the pit. It was Mr. Emeka Okafor, accompanied by Tund and the driver. "Oh my God," Mr. Okafor whispered. "Get her out of there. Now." The driver quickly lowered a rope, and they pulled Chidinma out of the pit. She collapsed into Mr. Okafor's arms, shivering and crying. "It's okay," he said gently. "You're safe now." Tund stood there, his heart breaking at the sight of her. The beautiful, confident girl from this morning was now covered in mud, bruised, and trembling. Who could do this? They wrapped her in a blanket and drove her to the nearest hospital. After she was cleaned up and examined by a doctor, Mr. Okafor sat beside her bed and asked, "Who did this to you?" Through tears, Chidinma told him everything. About her cousins, about their jealousy, about how they had tricked her and left her to die. Mr. Okafor's face hardened with anger. "Don't worry," he said. "They will pay for what they did. But first, you need to rest." The next morning, Mr. Okafor personally drove Chidinma home. When they arrived at her compound, her parents nearly fainted with relief. They had been searching for her all night, calling her phone, asking neighbors, even reporting to the police. When they saw her step out of the car, muddy and bruised but alive, her mother collapsed to her knees and wept. Mr. Okafor explained everything. When he was done, Chidinma's father's face turned red with fury. "Where are those girls?" he demanded. They had returned home the previous night, pretending to be innocent, claiming they didn't know where Chidinma had gone. But when they saw Mr. Okafor and heard his story, their faces went pale. "Uncle, please," Ngozi begged, falling to her knees. "We're sorry. We didn't mean it. We were just jealous." "Jealous?" Chidinma's father roared. "You tried to kill my daughter because you were jealous?" Mr. Okafor stepped forward. "Sir, with your permission, I would like to take this matter to the authorities. What they did is attempted murder." The 3 sisters were arrested that same day. They were charged and sentenced to community service and probation. But more than that, they lost everything: their dignity, their family's trust, and their future. As for Chidinma, Mr. Okafor made her an offer she couldn't refuse. Despite missing the audition, he said, "I see something special in you. I want you to be the lead actress in my movie." Chidinma couldn't believe it. Even after everything that had happened, her dream was still coming true. The movie Queen of Destiny became a massive hit. Chidinma's performance was praised by critics and audiences alike. She became an overnight sensation, appearing on magazine covers, winning awards, and signing endorsement deals. But through it all, she never forgot the lesson she learned. Jealousy is a dangerous poison, and not everyone who smiles at you wishes you well. Now, let me share with you the lessons from this story. Never let jealousy control you. It destroys both the jealous and the envied. Trust your instincts. Chidinma's mother warned her, but she ignored it. Always listen to that inner voice. Your destiny cannot be stopped. What God has planned for you will come to pass, no matter who tries to block it. Betrayal often comes from those closest to you. Be wise about who you trust with your dreams. Kindness should never be mistaken for weakness. Chidinma's family helped her cousins, but they repaid kindness with evil. God always makes a way. Even when Chidinma was at her lowest point, God sent help.